everyone, welcome back to another episode of Who
Who
Say?
Say?
So I'm Stacy. I am a Year 2 Finance and Law major.
I'm Ashleigh. I'm a Year 4 student in Chinese Studies and Psychology, and I'm currently a volunteer under the NUS Community Service Club.
I'm Caleb, Year 1 PP from the NUS Volunteer Action Committee. I'm Project Director of Project Kampong Kakis.
It sounds like you've been doing this community service for quite a while now. So could you share a bit more about how you guys started volunteering in the first place, and also how you started volunteering in uni?
I think for me, my interest in volunteering kind of started from secondary school days. So you know how we used to have class VIA projects that we had to do, and it was compulsory. So I think back then, our class, we had befriending sessions at Singapore Cheshire Home. And it was after those sessions that I realized that, hey, I actually kind of really liked the sessions itself, and I wanted to continue even after the project ended. So that's what I did, and I think that's what kickstarted my interest in volunteering, especially outside of school when you're not tied to any commitment to your VIA hours or school expectations. Yeah, so that's how I started in general. And in uni, I think upon stepping into uni, that's when everyone starts to think about their career aspirations or their purpose in life. So for me, education and children and learning, that was a big interest of mine. So that's how I got interested in Teach.
For me, it's quite similar also in terms of the secondary school, the mandatory volunteering. But I realized for me, after national service, I wanted to spend my time more meaningfully, and I realized actually I had a lot of joy from helping the different communities, and I wanted to take that further in university. So I tried to sign up for different kind of volunteering events, under CSC or under NVAC.
Okay, so you mentioned that you continued volunteering because you felt some joy and you wanted to, continue feeling this fulfillment when you help other people. So how about you, Ashley? You just mentioned that you liked it. What exactly did you like about volunteering in the first place?
I think in secondary school, I feel like teenagers back then, or basically as a student in secondary school, life was really stressful because you're always worrying about your school grades, how well you perform in school. But I think volunteering back then, it was a very much needed break for me, I think. I think it's what kept me grounded. It kind of reminded me of what was really important in life. It's like the human connections that you make. So I think that's what I really appreciated and something I genuinely enjoyed from the volunteering. And I think that's what still spurs me till today.
These are very wholesome and very nice to hear. I'm quite curious about the intention behind starting these volunteering projects in unis. So is it something that was just handed to you, or something that was for the purpose of adding to your portfolio, or was it for other reasons that motivated you to actually start?
I think for me, NVAC actually was reaching out for people to organize this gathering for the elderly, as I personally feel like I connect more and can engage better with them. So when they reached out to me to organize a elderly gathering, I think it was quite a natural kind of progression for me. Yeah, and so my intention was also more from the heart, from the start as well. Yeah.
I think, very similar to what he said, coming from the heart. I think my intention behind volunteering, especially in university, I think it was when I knew that, okay, you're in university, you have 4 years ahead of you, and you kind of have 4 years to commit yourself to a cause. And I knew as a student myself, I didn't really like school all the time. So I think that's when I was like, okay, if I'm a tutor, maybe I could do something for students or children who are struggling in school right now. So I think that's where the intention really came about.
It sounds like your intents were from the heart, genuine passions or interests or things in the community that you want to help out with. So do you think that this intent is also what you see from other volunteers? Is it always this type of wholesome, from the heart, very internally motivated types of volunteering?
In terms of volunteers, right, what I usually see is three types of motivation. So one, intrinsic, for us, as you've mentioned earlier, and two is extrinsic motivation. So in terms of fulfilling requirements or putting it on your resume. And third one I actually recognize is social motivations, where people join volunteering, because their friends are going and they see it more as a social activity to get through and have fun with. The intention for short-term volunteering, it really I think it's okay to get in through the door with like social and extrinsic motivations. But I think in terms for long-term sustainable volunteering, I think the heart is really what keeps you carrying on.
Yeah, I think somewhat similar also. I feel like the intention might not be the most important, but I feel if the intention is what disrupts or it hampers like your actual volunteering experience or how you interact with your community members, then that's when it could be an issue. Because I feel that I think in today's age, it is, I guess, realistic to also expect that many people come into volunteering with the extrinsic side of things because your school just expects you to commit to volunteering or things like your exchange program, your endorsements, that's a huge part of it also. So you can't really shy away from that. So I feel that what's more realistic is to expect that even if you don't have that genuine intention to commit yourself to volunteering, if you still, on that day itself, like during that actual experience, you still commit to it and you still try to genuinely have a good time and have a meaningful experience working with the community members you're working with, then I think that's good enough.
How could our listeners perhaps or people in general move from having these extrinsic motivations to something more genuine, perhaps?
We shouldn't force it, but I think it's about having the posture of learning and empathy when you are in the volunteering session. So, like, to have an open mind to say, oh, I can actually learn something from this, and I'm actually making a difference, and seeing the actual community members as people, not just like a category you're working with or like abstractions in your mind. So I think when you are really present, because I think the committee members also don't expect you to be perfect, like no one does. But I think what they really want is for you to be present, mentally and physically. And I think it really shows when you're volunteering as well. So when you come in from that position of empathy and also a posture of learning, I think that's where you can really feel yourself being moved by the volunteering itself.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. And I also think that the learning aspect also comes after the session. Like you have to reflect on what you did. And I think when you reflect and maybe if you come to the conclusion that, hey, I actually really like a certain aspect of what I was doing during the volunteering session, then maybe that is where the intrinsic motivation can slowly come in because then you realize that, okay, maybe there are certain aspects that I genuinely enjoy and maybe that genuine enjoyment is something that I can carry forward and I can continue in some other volunteering capacity. Yeah, so I feel like that reflection can be that important transition from the extrinsic to intrinsic motivation.
Are there any challenges that you guys experienced or you know of when people want to start volunteering more frequently and more long term?
I think this was something I genuinely struggled with at some point in time, especially in JC. I think JC was when my passion for volunteering was, I guess, at its peak. But at the same time, in JC, it's so incredibly stressful. You have so much work, and A levels are super, super important. So I think that's when there was a point in time where I really had to decide whether to drop one or two of my volunteering commitments to focus a bit more on school. And I feel like that is something that actually a lot of our students face because we recognize that schoolwork is important. But I know that for many of us volunteers, there's always that space in our hearts that it's for volunteering and for doing good. So it's actually really difficult to balance these two things in reality. I think for me, what got me through back then was, I guess, to actually just come to realization that volunteering was a way for me to take a break from my studies and to see it as that. I think that was helpful in helping me to adjust how I wanted to manage my time. So I think that was a challenge that I faced. And I think that's what a lot of students face nowadays.
Yeah, the time management point is actually quite real. I also want to add to that, like when you think in terms of long-term volunteering, right? Like sustainable volunteering is also recognizing your own capacity. So I feel like that it's better to volunteer once a month for 2 years than to volunteer every week for 2 months, something like that. Yeah, and another point about challenges, I think, is about the fear of not making an impact. I think once you see your impact from a more micro scale, as in making someone's day better, seeing the seniors smile, then I think it really helps to push you forward to continue volunteering as well. Yeah, because I also struggle with it. I was like, if I sit with this senior for 1 hour and then talk to them for 1 hour, what kind of impact would that even make? Like, what kind of tangible impact would that make? Yeah, so I think thinking through about how even those small interactions can make someone's day is quite good.
Okay, so for listeners who are interested in starting to volunteer more, especially like in uni, what platforms can they use or how can they start?
You could start from the Community Service Club. So basically, we're kind of the largest volunteering group in NUS, and we have so many volunteering opportunities for anyone. So we have like special projects. So if you're interested in like ad hoc volunteering activities, we have special projects. If you know that you can't commit long term, I think that's a good place to start. But you also have the regular volunteering program. So like Teach, the one that I'm volunteering with, I think that's where if you are interested in making that sustained commitment to volunteering, maybe that's something that would pique your interest. But also another interesting aspect of CSC is that we have an exploratory arm. So basically, if you have your own community service idea that you want to pitch or you want to turn into reality, then that's where you can start. Yeah, how about you, Stacey? Like, have you been volunteering yourself outside school or in NUS?
I haven't volunteered in NUS or in uni actually, but I've done volunteering in the past with Red Cross. So I am quite interested in like helping out in this like health sector. So in the past I would do a lot of volunteering in different blood banks. I would help the nurses like with the blood donations and all of the logistics and communicating with donor side of things. Yeah, I'm not able to do it now though because it's quite busy and I've had to travel quite far. So I jumped from different blood banks across Singapore in the past.
Just to share, there are other kind of volunteering avenues you can try. So for elderly, children, migrant workers, so these are some communities that you can reach out to. And one good way is through the NUS CSC Telegram. It's super active, so there will be like regular updates for things that you can join. And also there's a CSC outreach that will be happening around August. I really think like the essence of it is to just start, to just try different things and see what actually stays with you. Like what do you think about after the few days after volunteering? Is it more about basically to find out your intrinsic motivations and then also seeing what kind of values align to the volunteering, not just like what you're good at. So this is also helps for sustainable volunteering. I think another way is also, I think through a quick Google search, right? You can find out organizations like giving.sg, volunteer.gov.sg, and many other platforms, which you can also filter by like cost and also commitment. So it can be a one-day thing or maybe a 1 year or 3 months thing. Yeah. So I think the friction to start actually is not a lot. Yeah, it's just about the self-willingness to start.
I think just to reiterate also, I feel that it's important to extend yourself in a capacity that is comfortable for you. So if you know that you can't commit like on a long-term basis, that's completely okay. Like it's okay to just start small. Yeah, and I think once you get started, then just let that momentum carry you on. But if it doesn't happen to carry on, or if you just don't happen to find interest in it, then that's completely all right. Yeah, because I feel that ultimately, volunteering is something that should come from your heart at the end of the day. So if it's not something that really resonates with you at that point in time, it's completely okay.
Okay, wait, these sound really, really interesting and I think I'll be checking them out. And I think that our listeners back home should also be checking them out too. Thank you so much for sharing about your experiences and also for sharing tips about how our listeners can start volunteering. And to our listeners, thank you so much for tuning into this episode. Please do follow our socials and we'll see you back for another episode of Who Say? Bye!